So this morning, we're going to pick up in our Life Apps series, and today's application that we're going to introduce is the Selfie app. So we discussed last week on the privacy app, where we break away from the noise around us and the noise that we create to find a place where we can be quiet and alone with God. We talked last week how there is so much noise going on, noise from all places. And then I mentioned that a lot of times the noise that we are dealing with is not external noise, but it's noise that we create on our own. It's noise that we stir up that is really of very little to no value in our lives or in the lives of people that we come in contact with. And so as we talked about last week, the privacy app, that silence and that solitude with God, how many would say that they were intentional this week and put that into practice? So we have a couple who would admit that they were intentional this week to put the privacy app in practice, where we find a place of silence and solitude, not to pray, not to talk, but to listen. Just to listen. I shared last week concerning some things that have taken place over the last couple weeks that were really pressing and challenging for me. And I had to go back to San Marcos last Monday for some business. And while I was on the road, I took the opportunity to be intentional about being quiet. Usually I have the music going, there's a lot of construction, and so a lot of times you hear the road and every bump and everything. It's kind of distracting as it is. But I went ahead and turned off the music and just listened in silence. All alone in the truck. And just began to focus on God and focus on hearing His voice. God doesn't disappoint. Just like a child who wants to see his father or his mother, God is the same way. When we're intentional to come into His presence, He's intentional to give His ear to us. And likewise, when we're intentional to listen, He's intentional to speak and to encourage and to inspire. And so while I'm on the road, He began to reveal some opportunities that may have been missed, not just by me, but maybe in influence, in leadership. And as I started to recognize those opportunities, I started to begin to see how those opportunities connect with our own church and where we're at. And so as a result, that's why we did the Real Talk last week. Because I understand that there might be questions that are taking place. There might be undertalk that's going on in the church. And if that happens, do you know the very last person to hear the undertalk is the pastor? The last person to really hear and understand what's going on is the one that a lot of the undertalk and noise is going on about. And so I wanted to make sure that we took an opportunity that if there is those questions, if there is some things that we need to discuss, some vulnerability, some openness, some transparency that need to be put on the table, that was the opportunity to do that. And so it was important as I was thinking about that, because I don't want to ever be in a position where something happens or something didn't happen and I didn't know about it and didn't have the opportunity to address it. See, most church people won't bring up the things that they don't like to the pastor. They'll bring them up to each other, and they'll talk to each other about it, but it's rare that they bring them up to the pastor. And then when they're gone, it's the pastor that's the last to know and not understanding. I can't tell you the number of times I've reached out to people that have left the church and they never told me they were leaving the church. Not just this church, but any church that I've pastored in or been part of. They left the church, and when you contact them, they kind of dance around why they left the church. But if you're gracious enough and you press a little bit and you show genuine concern, they will eventually tell you why they left the church. And there has never been a time that a person specifically has left because of me. They may not always like what I preach. They may not always like what I say, but that isn't the primary root or the reason why people leave. They leave for other reasons, more extraneous reasons, more things that are not necessarily ecclesiastical in nature, but they're more emotional in nature. And not that those are unimportant, but if we just had dialogue and conversations, we can address those things. We could talk to them. We can figure out why we say the things we do, or why we do the things that we do, or why we don't do the things that we do. And so I believe it's essential for us to take a moment to be transparent and vulnerable and candid about the things that we struggle with, the things we don't understand, and the expectations concerning me, number one, as the pastor, and of course the direction of the church. And so that's why we're going to be doing the Real Talk every month, at least for the next couple months. It'll be a Tuesday, and it'll only be an hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., and everyone is welcome to have an open, candid discussion with me concerning all things Trinity. Since it's around dinner time for many of us, please feel free to bring food and drink. You won't upset me if you're munching down on something. Most importantly, since it's only an hour, everybody needs to be here on time. Okay? There's very few things I am emphatic about timeliness. This will be one of the things that I will be emphatic about timeliness, okay? It's important to start on time, and it's important that we get through what we need to talk about, and then we release on time so that you guys can get home, get your families home, and get your kids ready for school the next day. And so be looking for that. I have to narrow down the date, as I said. We talked about the starting point, and so that item came out of the same silence and solitude. And it's going to be a time to gather with you. It's going to be a time where even if you have attended this church, you may not have attended under this spiritual leadership and direction. And this is the things that we're going to talk about. It's things that we will discuss are going to include our personal walk with Christ. We're going to touch on those individual personal things that maybe we don't talk about or address in a more corporate setting. So we're going to get a little more intimate. We're going to talk about what our expectations are as a partner of this church, someone who attends this church, someone who may aspire to be sometime a member of this church. And what those expectations look like as a believer in faithfulness and commitment and stewardship. And then, of course, we'll talk about what our discipling mission in Beeville is and anything else that God has been laying on our hearts, okay? So just to expound a little more, please, those are two important events that I would like those that would like to participate to make sure that they participate. So please, if you have questions, come see me about them well in advance, and so that way we can discuss any issues that may be concerned around there. The privacy app we discussed last week, the silence and the solitude, it creates the atmosphere, if you recall. It creates the atmosphere for us to hear, listen, and respond. Hear, listen, and respond to God's voice as we become quiet and alone with Him. The app that we're talking about this week, the Selfie app, is connected to the privacy app. But before we get into that, I want to take some time and have some selfie fun. Anybody want to have some selfie fun? So some of you may already know how to do this, but I want us all to do it together, okay? So that way we have unity. If you have your smartphone, take out your smartphone. Yes, I just said you can take out your smartphone in church, okay? Remember, some of you may know how to do this, but please walk with us because I would like to have one big post. On your smartphone, if you have the Facebook app, tap on your Facebook app. Make sure you are logged into your Facebook app. At the very top of your Facebook app, you will see a search bar. Tap in that search bar and type in, if y'all can put it up on the board for me, or on the thing for me. Type in Trinity Christian Center Beeville. As you type it in, it should begin to come up. And it should be the very top one on your list. It'll say Trinity Christian Center. Once you see that, tap on that. When you tap on that, it should show you places. Everyone see places? The very top? No? Yes? If you don't, we can move on. You may need to ask a friend to help you. If you see the places, underneath places, it'll say Trinity Christian Center. Tap on that. If you are not following the Trinity Christian Center Facebook page, this is a great opportunity to follow it now. Because this is one of the primary places that we push information out for everyone to see and to repost. So have you found your follow the Facebook page? If you're not following, it will be a button that's on the top. Everyone good? All right, let's go back. We're at the very top left. You'll see an arrow where you typed in Trinity Christian Center. Tap on that. It'll take you back to places. Tap on it again. And it'll bring you back to your search bar. The top right, tap your cancel button. Everyone good? Does everyone see on their phone now where it says, what's on your mind? Are you at the place where it says, what's on your mind? Who's not there? Hit the arrow, top arrow. Hit it again. Hit it, cancel. There you go, what's on your mind? Everybody see it? It's not only an iPhone thing. Hit the back arrow. What's on your mind? See that? You just back it out, you'll be on your personal page, and it'll say what's on your mind. Okay? Tap. Where it says what's on your mind, tap on that. And it'll bring up a menu of things and a place where you can type something. Underneath that, you'll see where it says photo or video. Everybody see that? Tap on photo. Is Justin challenged over there? You might want to let Stacy do this. It's pretty bad if Stacy is instructing you. No, I just said it's pretty bad if you're instructing him. All right, you should see a bunch of pictures, but you'll also see the camera icon. Tap on the camera icon, and it'll give you the camera. Who has their camera going now? Camera. All right, now on the camera, there's a place where you can turn. If you know how to do selfies, you already know this. I'm not telling you anything new. There's a place to turn the viewer around so that it's looking at you, so you see your mug. Everybody see that? Do you see yourself? All right, now, grab a neighbor, grab somebody, grab a loved one, whomever you want, and now take a selfie of yourself. Here we go. Ready? Hit the tap. Tap it. There. All right. So everyone got a picture of themselves. Everybody got a picture? Got a picture? There you go. Yeah, Crystal's over there telling Fidel there's a certain perfect angle to get. Some of you have better sides than others, right? All right, now once you've done that, there should be a next button or continue button. Y'all see that? And it will bring you back to your page. You'll see the picture and you'll see say something about this photo. Tap where it says say something about this photo. And let's advance to the next slide. In the part where it says say something about this photo, I want you to type this. Hashtag if you're under 30, pound if you're over 30. Okay, I'm sorry. Hashtag if you're under 40. There you go. Pound if you're over 40. I insulted some people. All right? Once you type that in, you should see just down to the bottom right, maybe in the middle, you'll see where there's a bunch of icons that says add to your post. You should see something that looks like a map, something that looks like a person, a smiley face, and then a red pin. Just tap on that. And you'll get a menu, and in that menu, you'll see where the red pin is, where it says check-in. Tap on check-in. Everybody see that? Check-in, check-in, check-in. Are y'all in check-in? All right. It'll bring up a list of where you want to check in. You will either see Trinity Christian Center at the top, or you'll see the event called Life Apps, the Selfie app. Who sees Life Apps, the Selfie app? Who just sees Trinity Christian Center? Okay, tap on Life Apps, the Selfie app. Everybody there? Hey, it's okay. We will do this again next week. So you'll get to learn it this week. Once everyone's done, at the top right corner, hit share. That is not an order. So now, if you follow directions, you will see a Selfie Sunday post on your profile, and it will tag you to the church Facebook page. And everybody is popping in right now on my screen. So you wonder, what does this have to do with the Selfie app? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. For many of us, we know how to do the Selfie app. I took you just through an extended process so that way you can check into the church and also create what's called trending topics. And so it is a free way to promote the church. You may not realize this, but I don't pay for promotions. I've never had to pay for promotions. But the more that you use a particular business application, the more that it would extend that promotion to other people. You may not know this, but when people walk by this building, it sends me a notice and says, so-and-so has walked by your building. Not only does it tell me a notice, but if they're not a friend or a follower, it gives me statistics of the number of people, male, female, their age of who walked by this building. You would not believe the number of traffic that just walks by the building. And it exceeds our current attendance by at least 3 to 4 times. So there's opportunity for us to do that. That was a second purpose of the Selfie app. For many of us, posting a selfie is like breathing. And I really should have got blinders for this morning, because I don't want to look at anybody at all. So if I look at you, I am not talking about you. I want to say that right now. If I look at you, I am not talking about you. However, for many of us, posting a selfie is like breathing. We post selfie pictures of just about everything. We post selfies with our food. We post selfies with our pets. We post selfies with our kids while we're on vacation, on the job, off the job, on the road, even sometimes when we're driving. Selfies of our clothes, selfies of our shoes, our jewelry, mirror shots in the bathroom, dressing rooms, and even the bedrooms. Those are probably my least favorite. I do have one that's even least favorite than that. If that's not enough, we even have filters on our applications where we can enhance our selfies. We can change the colors, we can change the shades, we can make it black and white. We can even add animal ears and snouts, stars and rainbows, emojis, and God knows what other filters. I see friends on the Snapchat app, and it's like they will have 20 different pictures. It's the same picture, but they decide to use a different filter. Of big teeth, big nose, dog face, dog ears, dog tongue, star, you just name it. It's out there, and these are all the selfie apps. Here's the most disturbing selfie app for me as a parent and as a pastor. I love y'all, and I'm going to preface it with that. But the most disturbing selfie apps are the ones, particularly of women, that are dressed either in only a bra-type top or a low-cut V-neck or other drop neck lines, revealing what seems to be miles upon miles of cleavage. Remember, I'm not talking about anybody that I look at. I just don't want to be insensitive and not look up. Or exposing other parts of that region. Those are the most disturbing selfies for me, particularly as a parent and particularly as a pastor. Ladies, I don't want to see that, but I want to be your friend. I definitely don't want to see it from my own daughter. So if I don't want to see it from my own daughter, I definitely do not want to see it from anyone else that I have an association with. But that is the most disturbing selfie app for me. And I would say if you have a daughter, and these are the type of selfies, I would be very, very concerned. I made a comment earlier, and now it might come back to bite me. If that's not bad enough, these particular pictures are taken at a particular angle. I'm told that you take pictures from this angle because it makes you look thinner and narrower. But if it's a miles for days cleavage shot, that angle is distorting and even amplifying the original image. I'm sorry, there is nothing slimming about that image at all. That particular angle, it makes those who are a little more blessed appear to be even more so blessed. Guys, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but dear God, I'm serious, dear God. When we talk about image, we talk about God, we talk about things that are in the inside of us that are coming on the outside of us. I have to wonder, and again, this is not condemnation. This is I pray you know my heart. If my wife had that kind of picture, I would share with her and say, "Hey, babe, this is what I see when I see this picture." I don't think she's had any of those pictures, because I haven't had to say that. But it would at least be a conversation where I say, I don't like this picture, you know? Everyone knows that you can actually review the image before you post it, right? Everyone understands that before you hit that share button or that post button, you can actually review what's going to go out for all the world to see. So having said that, there is not a single selfie that is posted by accident. Every selfie is posted intentional. And some of us need to be intentional not to post selfies. Some of us just need to stop posting selfies. And maybe it's time to even go through our profiles and remove and delete some of those old selfies. Have you ever heard the phrase, "You never get a second chance at a first impression"? Has anyone ever heard that phrase? You never get a second chance at a first impression. Imagine this, if you will. somebody new comes to church. And you meet them and you greet them and you become friends and you like each other's Facebook profiles. This person could be a new believer. This person could be a returning believer. This person may not have an understanding of full understanding of grace and mercy yet. And they're going out and they do like all of us do and troll and stalk other people's Facebook profiles. And if you say you don't troll and stalk Facebook profiles, you're probably lying. You're going to say, but I'm a grandmother and those are the only pictures that I'll get to see. You troll and stalk your grandchildren on Facebook to see the pictures that you didn't get sent. So it's still what it is, right? And so this person that has come to church for the first time, or maybe returned to church, you just befriended and they go out and they scroll through your pictures and what do they see? You realize that what they see on our profile becomes the perception and the image, not just of you or me, but of our church. Even worse, it becomes the perception and the image of God. Proverbs 27:19. As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects man. As in water, face reflects the face, and so does the heart reflect. The heart of man reflects the man. Do you know before mirrors, the only reflection that we could ever see was in water. Maybe even ice that was clear. But water was the first time man saw his reflection in water, imagine what he may have thought. Have you ever seen a dog for the first time they see their reflection? They start barking at the mirror. Why? They believe it's another dog. I saw a post on Facebook one time, and it's a little kid, and he's in a department store, right? And there's a mirror. There's a wall that has a mirror, right? And the kid kind of looks at the mirror, and he thinks there's another kid. He comes around, and he can't see a kid on the other side of the wall. So he goes back and looks at the mirror, and then he jumps back because he's still trying to catch the kid that he sees that he thinks is on the other side of the wall. And it's hilarious. He does this for several moments. It's the first time he realized that he's seeing something, but he doesn't realize that it's his own image. And so before mirrors, only way we could see our reflection was in water. Before cameras, the only image people saw is the real-time view with our natural eyes. The only snapshot that we had of people is what we saw with our eyes. There were no cameras. Cameras haven't been around all the time, and so you had to use your imagination. Do you know when men went off to war, they had to remember in their mind what their loved one looked like. That was the only way that they could remember them while they were off in battle. It's through the image that they saw with their natural eyes. Cameras capture moments in time that reflect either who we are or who we want people to believe we are. Cameras capture moments in time that reflect either who we are or who we want people to believe we are. Pictures used to be once and done. First, they were imaged on a piece of glass. And if the proof and the glass were destroyed, the picture was gone forever. Then there was film-based cameras. Many of y'all probably don't even know what I'm talking about. How many of you remember having to develop proofs? Okay, if you're older than 40, raise your hand. If you're younger than 40, you're like, what's that you say? We even have a box still somewhere that probably has about 300 or 400 pictures that still need developed. We don't even know if anybody develops them anymore. For the old people, why? Oh, sorry, that just came out. As long as the film is in good condition, you could make as many images of the proof as possible. There were times when you were looking for a picture, you had to go back through the film strips that were originally developed. And if you were not a very good, organizer and didn't put the date range that film was developed from, then you're going through hours and hours and mountains of film. But as long as it was in good shape, you could recreate the proof. With the advent of digital imagery, not only can we recreate an image indefinitely, as long as the original image exists, we can even modify, enhance, and manipulate it to make it look like whatever we want. In addition, images are just not kept into a single private entity or even in a single private organization. Once it is put out online, it is available for the world to see. You may not know this, but every post, and this might terrify some of y'all, but every post, anything that you do online, every website you go to, even when you check your bank, when you check your email, all of your social apps, everything you do gets recorded and stored in multiplicity. What does that mean? When you pull up your Facebook app and you go to message your loved one at work who's just across town, the belief is this, is that when you hit send, it goes directly from here to them. That is not so. It actually goes to a server someplace in the world. Could be in Texas, could be in California, could be in Canada, could be in England. And it's stored, and then it's pushed to multiple other servers around the world before it gets to your loved one. In moments, in seconds. And so it is stored. This is called multiple redundancy. And so in the event of a crash of one of the servers, there is another server that has all of that information, and it can never fall down. The system stays up and constant. So everything we post, every picture we post, every email we send, everything is stored in multiple places. Yes, even those selfies. God's selfie app is not like that. God's selfie app does not function like that. His app is specific for reflection and meditation. Not to reflect an image on the outside, but to reflect the image on the inside. See, our reflection in a mirror or camera is only a distorted view of the truth. Let's say that one more time so that we can get it into our thinking, our soul. Our reflection in a mirror or camera is only a distorted view of the truth. It only captures the outside natural appearance, but not who we truly are in our being. However, based on the conditions, the posture, the pose of an image, we humans will pass judgments. We'll come to certain conclusions, and we'll even make decisions based upon the image that we see. Even in the description of the images that I referred to earlier in some selfies, maybe even some of us in this room, we immediately came to a particular conclusion or judgment based upon those. Many of those conclusions and judgment are false. They're not real. But because of our perception of seeing a distorted reflection of a person's self, this is where we come to that conclusion. I've said this before. To a woman who looks in a mirror, she will focus on every single flaw and amplify every perceived imperfection. When a woman looks in the mirror, she will focus on every flaw and amplify every perceived imperfection. When a man looks in the mirror, He overlooks his flaws. And he focuses on what he believes in what he sees and what he believes he wants others to see. See, when others see us, they will see something completely different based upon each individual's personal filters. Everyone in this room, even now, has a completely different view and image of me because of your own filters. Right, wrong, indifferent, it really doesn't matter. But every person that I have ever come in contact with has a different image and reflection or viewpoint and perception of what they see in the image before them. That is a fact. The reality of this perception is that it's been around since man's fall in the garden, and it will be around until Christ returns. We will continue to judge each other by what we see until Jesus comes back. And we know this to be true in our daily interactions with other humans. For instance, have you ever met a pretty woman or handsome man only to discover their beauty is just on the outside? You ever heard that beauty is skin deep, but ugly is all the way to the bone? There is some truth to that. I mean, consider this. Beautiful women, handsome men. Everybody's looking for a beautiful woman or a handsome man. And that's who they want to spend the rest of their life with. They have this image that they've created, probably even out of several magazines or books or something that they pictured, and they've conjured up what the perfect man or the perfect woman looks like. And when they discover this perfect man and perfect woman on the outside because of their external beauty, this false image of a moment, when they spend time with them, it's revealed how mean, evil, and nasty they really are. Our standard of beauty is the one we love, not the one we wished we had. On the other side, we never take time to get to know someone who is less than good-looking or attractive. Yet, had we got to know them, we might uncover a hidden beauty in kindness and compassion. See, we're always looking for this super good, when in reality there was no one super good but Jesus. See, the Selfie app, as I said, it works in conjunction with the privacy app. We do well to endeavor walking them together. Walking in either, but they work best when they're applied together. The privacy app creates the atmosphere for the Selfie app. The privacy app creates the atmosphere for us to reflect and meditate on God. It's very difficult to reflect and meditate on God in the midst of all the noise. And so the privacy app, the silence and the solitude, creates the atmosphere for the Selfie app to be most effective. In our silence and solitude, we don't only hear and listen God's voice clearly, but this is where we also reflect and meditate on all things Christ. In other words, the Selfie app is where we discover the image and the reflection God sees in us. Say that again. The Selfie app, in our reflection and meditation, is where we discover the image and reflection that God sees in us. This is where we are refined. This is where we are shaped. This is where we are prepared for service. Is in the reflection and the meditation. It's where Genesis 1:27 comes alive. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. That verse comes alive in those moments of reflection and meditation. To note that you are created in the image of God, you are not a mistake. You are created to look like him. No matter how pretty or how ugly, we're created to look like him. Beauty is only our perception. Beauty is only our perception because we are created in the image of the Creator. how many of us would say that God is not beautiful? We wouldn't dare. But yet we call one another names that don't attribute to beauty. We will portray only what we reflect. As long as we only focus on our flaws, our carnal desires, and our differences, we rob ourselves and others from the reflection and image of Christ in us, our hope of glory. If all we do is focus on those things, if that's all we put out there for everyone to see, we're robbing ourselves of God's beauty. We're robbing ourselves and others to see His beauty. You are the only one that many people will see that will attribute to God. What is God seeing, or what is humanity seeing in us? What is the reflection that is coming out of us that they see? Do they want to be part of what God is doing in our lives, or do they want to run as far away as possible and don't even want to connect? What do they see in us? Psalms 49:3, my mouth shall speak wisdom, the meditation of my heart shall be understanding. Romans 10:17, so faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of God. 2 Corinthians 3:17 through 18, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all, with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord, who is Spirit. Reflection and meditation refines us, prepares us to walk in the image and reflection of Jesus. This is only the intro for the Selfie app. So we're going to close for now, and we'll pick up part 2 next week, where we'll unpack this a little deeper. So I encourage you to come back. But before we dismiss, I want to challenge us this week to be more reflective. For those of us that may not have attempted to implement silence and solitude last week, I want to encourage you to be intentional about being silent and solitude, or solace, or alone this week. I would challenge you to, in that time, to be more reflective. We'll get to the meditation part. I just want us to reflect this week, to be intentional in our reflection. What I mean is to be more intentional concerning the reflection and image we portray. What is the reflection and image that we are showing in our homes, showing in our families, showing on our jobs, showing to our coworkers, revealing in our community with everyone we come in contact with? We need to be more intentional about that reflection and that image. What do our children see? Trust me, if you have a teenager, the last thing that a teenager wants to see is mom or dad in a selfie of a compromising position. That's the last thing that a teenager wants to see. But we need to be more intentional concerning our reflection in the image that we portray. Not just in our homes, but even to our family. Our jobs and our co-workers, what do they see? What is the reflection that they see? Our community, what is the reflection? How are we reflecting God as a body? And most importantly, as I said earlier, it's time to check our presence, where the majority of our perceived reflection becomes reality. Social presence right now takes precedence over what people think about us and how people will engage with us. It's no longer important to meet someone face to face, LaFawn. All I got to do is go check their profile, and I'll know everything that I need to know about them. Everything I ever wanted. Do you know, even employers today, many employers, particularly in corporate level, or if you're in some type of either state job, or you're in the law enforcement where you need some type of security, or you're going to be exposed to confidentiality, they will ask you to put down your social profiles, and if they don't ask you, they're going to run a check on them. Many people have not been called for interviews, not because they weren't qualified, not because they didn't have a great resume, and not because they couldn't interview. It's because the company did a search on their social media. How do I know this? We were one of those companies. Candidates look good on paper. Even referrals. We went out and checked their social media presence and saw that there's a little bit more than what's on the resume. And how's that going to be a good fit for us? So employers are looking at that. Not only that, we even had to terminate several people in significant positions because of their weekend post that was not becoming of a supervisor, manager, or director. There are people today losing their jobs because of their social perception that may not be totally the reality of who they are. And so this is not just something that I'm saying because I want to be mean. This is something that is critical in our culture today. We must ask ourselves, before we post that selfie, this question. Does this image reflect Christ in me? Does this image reflect Christ in me, which is the reflection and image of God and what He sees, because that's who He created us to be? And is this the image that I want others to see of me? If it doesn't, then dear God, please discard it. Throw it away, trash it, delete the photo. Don't put it out there. And here's an idea from last week. Just be silent. Just because you can post a selfie doesn't mean you should. Contrary to popular belief, more is not better. Less is best. Amen. Father, thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you, Lord, that we are endeavoring to walk and be transformed in the image of your Son, Jesus. Day by day, moment by moment, from one degree of glory to the next degree. And Father, we understand that this thing, our soul, we still struggle. We still battle with these things in our culture. We battle with our sanctification. There's no condemnation at all in this. But we must rise to a new level of conviction in our walk. And Father, I just pray right now that you bring that level of conviction to each and every one of us. Only you can reveal in the heart of us, in our thinking, in our soul, in our emotions, those things that others perceive of us, and those things that may be a distractor to our witness and not a promoter of the gospel in us. So Father, I just pray now, only you, Father, only you. No man can reveal this. Only you can reveal this in the hearts of man. And so, Father, I petition for that mercy upon us. I petition for that grace upon each and every one of us. That we begin to see ourselves first how you see us. And that the reflection and the image that we share with the world and our culture and our generation brings honor and glory to you and draws all men unto you. Because we lift you up in our entire being and in our doing. So Lord, we thank you this morning. We thank you for that. We thank you that you're a loving God. You're a merciful God. You're a gracious God. And just pour that grace and that peace and that mercy and love upon us this morning so that we can walk in the fullness of Jesus in all that we do, personally, corporately, in community. In Jesus' name. And all who believe said, amen. Amen. So don't forget, if you have not turned these in, please fill it out. Drop it in the offering basket on your way out so that we can update all of our records. Wednesday, Tangible Kingdom. Thursday is the Main Street meeting at 10 a.m. And let's see, pray for me while I am traveling, and I will see y'all next Sunday.